What is happening, my friends? Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day. Whether if it's politics, pop culture, sports, or the latest buzz, we're diving deep and keeping it real. So do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. Look, my friends, on today's show, I'm so excited. I have the honor of having Miss Jennifer Naperala. She is candidate for Chesapeake City Council, my hometown. And I mentioned here on the program many times the importance of knowing what's happening in your backyard. We tend to always focus on the presidential race, this, president that, and we always focus on the federal races, but you tend to forget, hey, the issues that you have happening within your home's area is you need to know what's happening on your local circuit, school board, city council, mayoral races, the whole nine yards. Now, I've heard countless of times, all politics is local. Now, I'm not saying that's false, but at the end of the day, when it comes to knowledge base, you have to know who's on your school board, who serves on your city council, knowing that you even have a freaking city website. You know how many times I've spoken with people and they're like, Chesapeake dot what? I didn't know that exists. I'm like, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. It is so key. It is so, especially my young people out there, because look, I'm a millennial, right? I'm a part of the young crew, and I always try to help share the message and change the narrative so we'll have an understanding of what's happening on in our local communities. And so again, it still is early voting season. Election time will be here before you know it. As far as election day, November 5th, it'll be here before you know it. So if you haven't registered to vote yet, please get registered to vote. It is so important. Do me a favor, and the website, if you are not registered, please visit let's see here, us.gov. Okay, us.gov on how to register within your local state or your communities. Please make sure you are registered, because it's very important. So much is at stake in these elections. But again, I'm excited to have Miss Naperala on because I'll tell you, let me backtrack. So I had received a flyer from a friend of mine asking, hey, are you going to be attending this forum? And I'm like, I wasn't planning on it. And plus, it was on a Sunday. And really, my Sundays are my break days, man. I got to decompress on Sundays. I do a lot within the week. I work weekends, and I just try to let Sunday be my restful day. And I knew how important a lot of these functions, because I try to attend almost every single one of them, which I know can be crazy because I'm not like what was it, Elastic Man or Flash. Like I can't do them all. But I said, well, you know what, let me attend this one, because I haven't really attended a lot of Chesapeake functions. And I said, let me attend this. And it was the mayors and city council. It was hosted by the Hampton Roads Black Caucus, as well as Commonwealth Institute Civic Innovations. So there were a few candidates. There was around 9 in total. You had, of course, our current mayor and our candidate who's running for mayor, Councilman Don Carey, who's actually a friend of the show. He'll be on very soon. Then we also had members running for council, some running for re-election, some that are new to city council. So it was very important to attend this attend this forum. And it's interesting because I don't know about you, but I always try to set my plate full on exactly who I'm going to lean towards in the local races, and we're really in all the races, but I really try to put my mesh all the people and be like, okay, who am I going to lean towards? I'll look at their information, their platform, the whole 9 yards, and I'm like, I'm pretty set in stone, right? And see, here in the area, and this can possibly happen in your local communities as well. Even though local races are nonpartisan, you still have members that are backed or endorsed by their local parties. So I say all that because if I'm reading certain publications or newspapers, you name it, whatever's getting sent to me, it's always mostly left leaning or right leaning stuff. So when I came to this function, I'm like, wait a minute, who is this? Who is this? And there was a lady that I tell you, she was just kicking ass, man. Let me tell you, she was answering the questions sharp. And the best thing is, man, is it just seemed so organic. She was just being honest and upfront. It wasn't a talking point. And that's one thing for me, as an independent. I personally, I'm not a fan of the two-party system. And I feel as though sometimes, not all, but sometimes you have candidates that tend to just gravitate to whatever's a talking point the party tells them to, continue to say. And it's the same old that we hear constantly over and over and over again. And for people like me that's trying to spread the word with young people and friends and family on like the importance of voting and things like that, it doesn't help my case because they're like, oh, same old promises. I'm tired of this. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna change all of a sudden? I mean, let's be honest. Now I'm talking about local, but we've seen the last presidential debate, cats and dogs. Doesn't help my case either. So it is a lot to discuss, and I don't want to ramble on, but before I will bring on our guests, of course, as always, I always have to acknowledge some of our proud supporters of the Arrington Gavin Show, like my friends over at Ingenious Gin. That's right, Ingenious Gin is a Black-owned, veteran-owned spirit. It is with a unique spin of the original gin. As you see, the original gin is normally clear, right? This one is a rose gold complexion gin. So for those who happen to be watching on any of our streaming platforms, whether if it's YouTube or Rumble, you can see this amazing complexion gin. I'm telling you, I'm a bourbon and whiskey guy, right? That is my preference and my drink of choice. But there's only one gin that I will gravitate to, and that is Ingenious Gin. Again, we support our veterans here on this program, and my good friends Reggie and Lawrence are doing great stuff with Ingenious Gin. So please do me a favor, visit your local ABC stores or your spirit stores. And if you happen not to find that bottle in those stores, visit their website at www.ingeniousgin.com. Again, that's www.ingeniousgin.com. If you happen to be watching this right now, you see I provided a 20% off discount code on the screen. And look, do me a favor, grab yourself a bottle, support a small business, and do me a favor, please drink responsibly. We don't want you acting like a fool out here in these streets, all right? Make sure to drink responsibly. Also, let me see here. Do me a favor, new episodes drop weeknights on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk out of our radio affiliate out of Dallas, Georgia, Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m., as well as WDJYFM.com. And you can check this program out on all podcast platforms. So wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple, iHeart, you name it, you can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. And as I mentioned earlier, on the streaming platforms of YouTube, our YouTube channel is R Smooth Club Media, the letter R, and then Smooth Club Media, as well as Rumble at the Arrington Gavin Show. So please continue to support. We are a very grassroots, unbiased platform. We have so much fun here. Again, we talk a little bit about everything, stuff that's trending, stuff that's very informative, and we just want to have fun, have a conversation. That's all we want to do, is just have a conversation. And again, I appreciate those who continue to support the platform. We're continuing and grow every day in subscriptions and viewerships and listenerships. I see the stats. We're growing each and every time. So again, we couldn't do that without you guys. So thank you. And before I head to a commercial break, our favorite segment of the day, our fun fact. We always love to bring something to the minds of all that. Hey, I didn't know that. Really? What? All right. So look, it's time for fun fact of the day. And this fun fact was quite a funny one. I thought, I'm like, okay, we're going to enjoy this one. Let me bring up my notes here. So, nope, that's not it. Here we go. So, did you know you can major in wine at Cornell University? First of all, so here in Chesapeake, we'll be having our Chesapeake Wine Festival very shortly. It's a festival that I always enjoy to go. My family and I, we always we'll get a chalet and we have a great time. My wife and I, we're wine connoisseurs, right? I'm a cab guy. Anything dry red or aged in bourbon barrels, I love it, right? So when I saw this, I'm like, you're kidding me. But it's very true, my friends. It says here that technically it's a degree in I don't even know if I can say this word, viticulture. There we go. Viticulture and enology. There we go. AKA the cultivation of grapes and the science of winemaking. But we're still sending in our applications. So it's very true. So if you are curious and very passionate about wine, look, pursue it in college, man. Pursue it in college, and you make sure you have to have the the GPA to go to Cornell, because the last time I checked, my GPA was not that great. But I did graduate. I went to school. Shout out to Chowan University that accepted me, and I got my degree. So I'm very smart. And then my wife shoves in her master's in my face all the time. I'm like, all right, no need to brag. No need to brag. All right, my friends, look, let's go ahead. We're going to do a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'll have the lovely Miss Jennifer Naperala, again, candidate for Chesapeake City Council. Don't go anywhere, my friends. You are listening to the Arrington Gavin Show.
Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Order our scented beard oils and beard balms to help you maintain and grow the perfect beard. Order today. Try our men's care products like the full body exfoliating cleansing bars, body wash, smooth stash, and more. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. We're your luxury but affordable men's care line. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
Welcome back, my friends. Welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I am your host, Arrington Gavin. Thank you so much for taking the time out your schedule for tuning in for another great conversation. Look, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm very excited. I have a special guest on today. She is Miss Jennifer Naperala, candidate for Chesapeake City Council. Without further ado, let me go bring on our guest. Hey, Jennifer, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I am doing great. Looking forward to this conversation. And I'm just so excited to have you on. So again, thank you so much, because it is election season. And look, time is like very valuable when especially during early voting.
It is.
So for one, I would love to start off, if you can share with the audience just a little bit about yourself, a background about yourself.
Okay. I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C. in the suburbs in Maryland. When I was in college, I met my future ex-husband and we married. He was in the Navy at the time. We moved down here and he retired from the Navy. Mm-hmm. And I had, in the meantime, gotten my master's in education, and I've been an English teacher for the last 23 years with Chesapeake Public Schools. So I wound up staying here with my kids and raised my 3 kids, and they've all been through the same school where I teach. So It's been a fun experience.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, shout out to Maryland. I actually have some family in the Prince George County, Fort Washington area. So very, very familiar with on the Maryland side. So, okay. Educator, kids, 2 kids, 3 kids?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids. So you're a mother. And so where did politics come up play? Because you mentioned that, hey, you grew up really on the outskirts of the capital, which you're pretty close to politics. You're pretty close to politics. But where did the thought process? I always love to mention with people like, why politics? It's a headache.
It is. it's not something that I intentionally got involved in, and I'll do my best to kind of condense the last 9 years into a manageable timeline. But I got involved with politics kind of tangentially. I had an issue with one of my students who was a young Black man in the ninth grade, who just what happened to him and his family was something. The only way that I can describe it is it's one of those stories that white people don't believe. If a Black person were to say it to them, white people might nod and smile, but probably not realize what the reality is for some people. And I saw it firsthand, and it really kind of changed my life. I just was so upset and sick for this kid and his family that I wound up getting involved. I wanted to try to figure out how kids like him didn't have to fight so hard to be heard or to be accepted or to be understood. And that eventually took me to understand that the biggest problem here in Chesapeake is the way that we vote. And the way that we vote is this at-large system, which is super discriminatory. It's outlawed at the state and federal level. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg basically called at-large voting the second generation of Jim Crow, along with gerrymandering.
Wow.
So I did 10 tons of research on that and realized that until we can change our voting system, we really aren't going to have true representation on our city council or on our school board. So that got me active with community groups who were trying to change the system. And then as I got deeper and deeper into it, I realized really the status quo is working for the people who are in charge of the status quo and maintaining the status quo. So I just kept working and working until several community leaders whom I deeply admire suggested that I go ahead and run myself as an independent, because I really am focused on a few issues that I deeply am convinced have to happen in order to improve the situation in Chesapeake for people, for the stratification. We're never going to bring the top and the bottom closer together so we can solve these problems. So that's finally what brought me to where I am now. So it wasn't an intentional decision. It was just something that kind of has happened over the last 9 years.
Which is very, very inspiring and very respectful, because the fact of the matter is you wasn't quick to run. You said, okay, let me do my homework. Let me really do my investigation in a sense. And then I'm like, is this the right time? I think this is the right time.
Well,
And
go ahead. I was just going to say, it's not that I've been dragging my feet. I've been speaking at school board meetings. I've been speaking wherever I can.
Yeah.
But until someone who is like-minded has any sort of influence over the policies that we need changed, we can scream our lungs out, but nothing will change until we have enough people who are able to influence policy.
Very true. Very true. And it's very unfortunate, because here in Chesapeake, I couldn't agree more. I feel as though that there are certain areas within our community that is not represented at all, which is for me, when I first heard about, taking, the taking away at large into more of a district or a borough system, I thought that was perfect, because really majority of the cities within the Hampton Roads area, within the 7 cities, I know Virginia Beach, Suffolk, I want to say Newport News, I believe Norfolk as well. Norfolk has a ward system. There's really just 2 cities that is still at large, and that's I want to say Hampton and Chesapeake. And so where I see like certain parts of Chesapeake is well put together, taken care of, safe. You can walk out, on a jog, whatever. And then a few streets down, I'm like, whoa, what is happening? Is this grocery store even open? And I'm like, it's unfortunate because let's be honest, the city has plenty of finances that can easily take care of it, but it's unfortunate. And I feel as though the district issue is a bipartisan thing. Like there's people I've
Yes.
spoken with on all sides of the aisle that have said this. I would love for this. I would love to have one person to contact rather than just 9 people, because we have quite a large city council, right? I believe there's like 9 members in total on city
Correct.
council, where some cities might have 5, or a
Mhm.
little less than that. So it's a lot of people there. So I couldn't agree more with that stance as far as the borough system, or at least representation.
Correct. So, well, and it's funny that you mentioned the size of the city because we've got about 250,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think with 9 city council people that that would be sufficient. But
Mm-hmm.
when you look at the map, we've got 4 of the city council members. I mean, they all live within this very kind of condensed area. We've got a couple in Western Branch, and then Greenbrier and Great Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the 3 areas that have council members near them or in them. But otherwise, those areas of the city, unless someone intentionally goes into that part of the city,
Mm-hmm.
there's no one there to be able to be held accountable for the problems that those folks are dealing with.
Gotcha. No, totally agree. And I guess I think during that forum, that's where I was very, I was like, wait a minute, who is this? And again, you're a candidate that I think is very unique because obviously local races has always been nonpartisan, but it was, when I look at the literature, the website, you emphasize I'm an independent candidate running for city council, which is
Mhm.
unique because there is no candidate that will mention their party affiliation, which again is it's a nonpartisan race. But as I mentioned before, and we don't have to I don't have to answer too much on it, but we have a voting system where you do have your local Democrats party, you have your local GOP party, and they have their candidates that they support. So I think it's very important the fact that you are emphasizing the independent, because we're in a era now where independents are really on the rise, even on the federal level. I mean, we still have the 2-party system, but a lot of independent voters are like, you know what, I'm tired of the whole 2-party system. So I'm very passionate about people that are focused on the issues rather than just pleasing. They're focused on the people over the politics. I'll say it like that. People over the
Yes.
politics.
Yes, I have. It's kind of ironic because if we're successful and I'm
Mhm.
able to, well, even if I'm elected this time, or even when I'm elected this time, we
There you go.
still need to wait 2 more years until the next round until we can earn the majority of folks who are willing to consider borough representation,
Mhm.
because we need to have enough. The folks who are on there now, with the exception of Councilperson Carey, who
Mhm.
thankfully is leading the charge on this,
Mhm.
um, and I think there are 2 others on there, Dr.
Oh,
Ward
yep.
and Robert Ike.
Mhm.
But even so, if I'm elected, that still won't be enough. When I'm elected, that still won't be enough for us to outnumber the folks who are opposed to it.
Mhm.
So it's really kind of, anyone who wants to change it has to understand that we're in this for a long haul. This isn't something that is going to be fixed overnight, but
Mhm.
once it's fixed, it's going to improve people's lives for generations. So it's kind of, I'm stubbornly adhering to it because if
Mhm.
we don't focus on it, it's just going to get pushed aside because the people who are currently sitting in those seats really don't want it to happen. So
Mhm.
ironically, I'll probably be the first person voted out if it happens, because I don't live in a district or an area that is in favor of it at all. But it's like you say, it's not about the politics, it's about the policy and just getting changes and making things easier for everybody in this city. It has nothing to do with politics. To me, it's
Mhm.
all about the policy.
Awesome, awesome. So we've spoken a lot on as far as representation. That's a key thing that is on the ballot this local election is representation, is a district system. Now you still have, of course, you have candidates that are opposed of having somewhat of a borough system or district system, and then but you also have a lot of voters and residents that said, well, we're for it. But you do have some people that says, I don't know, because then if we have somebody that we don't care for, then we're stuck with this person. Like, how can you sway somebody in considering? But here's the importance of a single member district system. How do you sway a person like that?
I would sway them by encouraging them to look at it as I personally don't see them as being stuck with it at all. I see it
Mhm.
as being a much easier replacement system
Mm,
because if you have one person, I mean, right now, trying to get rid of any one of them is incredibly challenging
mhm.
because as long as you have a bulk, they don't even have to be the majority of the whole city, but it's if you get a bulk of voters
Mhm.
to vote for a certain number of people, no matter what, they're going to kind of drown out the little clusters of people who are voting otherwise.
Very true. Very
So
true.
if we can turn it into a pie where everybody who lives in that slice of the pie has control over who's in charge of them, well, you only have to wait 4 years to try to vote somebody else out.
Very
So
true.
I personally see it as less challenging. So that is my true belief.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
and it's interesting too because a lot of people that even live in the city of Chesapeake doesn't realize like there's a lot of people that live in the city. Like Chesapeake, I believe, is like the second largest population wise in the state of Virginia, with like over 270,000 or 200 some.
Correct.
It's in the high numbers with that. So again, you're talking about you know 9 people, maybe one person too, trying to take over or trying to look after 275. Where say if it's a single member district system, it's like okay, maybe I can have 35. I can really just look over 35,000 rather than like the 270. Because again, like you said, it makes the task. It's still a hard task. Don't get me wrong, because that's still a lot of people, but it's a lot easier than 275,000 or
Agreed.
270 plus.
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, we've spoken about the representation of single member district system. What are some other key issues that you are focusing on within your campaign running for city council?
My the other two, I've got 3 big issues.
Mm-hmm.
The borough representation, of course, is
Mm-hmm.
what got me started,
Mm-hmm.
but also affordable housing and collective bargaining for city
Mm,
workers. Um, Affordable housing, we've got people who have been on the wait list for housing for years,
wow.
years. Um, we've got a Chesapeake Housing and Redevelopment Authority, but from my read of their minutes over the last couple of years, they haven't been super effective at
Mm,
identifying solutions for folks who need housing. To me, that's not acceptable. If you're on a committee and that's your job, then we need to see some success, or we need to change the committee, or we need to change our vision statement. Something needs to change.
absolutely.
So that to me is really frustrating and really sad. And now it's even affecting not even our low income folks. Now even our middle of the income folks are also being priced out of homes.
Very true.
So that is one issue. And the collective bargaining for city employees, as a teacher, it became important to me years ago. But now, as I see this, we've got international firms coming in from South Korea that are going to set up, they're coming here to save money, right? Well, the easiest ways to save money are to cut down on salaries.
Mm,
Um, and that's, you move out of country to reduce cost. Well, they're coming here, and I don't see any other way to prepare our quality of life and our way of living than to try to approve collective bargaining and get ourselves squared away before we have several of these international corporations here.
That is so crazy. So, okay, affordable housing, collective bargaining. I want to go on the affordable housing piece because I was talking among some friends and they were telling me that and plus my mother, she's been a real estate broker for about 37 years now, and she was just telling me like the average price for a first time home buyer, at least in Hampton Roads, especially in Chesapeake, you're pushing like 350,000 at the lowest, which blows my mind because I'm just like, wait, so somebody that just graduated from college that's possibly considering being a homeowner rather than renting, you're telling me that that's how much they have to, pay for a home? I mean, even if you try to pay rent is off the chain right now. You might as well purchase a home. But it's so unfortunate because a lot of people, and I always go back to, fresh out of college, they're saying, well, I love Chesapeake, but I'm most likely going to move to say like Suffolk or somewhere where I know that is, just more affordable, even though I might work in Chesapeake or I might work on this side of the water. I have to live on the opposite side of the bridge. I mean, that is insane as far as what the, as far as the pricing in Chesapeake.
Mhm. In 2022, Chesapeake's rents average went up 38%. Our
Wow.
Right. And our starting salaries, our incomes, those numbers don't change.
Mm.
So being a young person, being a person who earns a lower income than average, it's impossible to be comfortable. People shouldn't have to work 2 or 3 jobs to live. They just shouldn't. We all appreciate the value of hard work. We all understand the value of hard work, but working so much that you can't give your children what they need, working so much that you can't support your family, your parents, that's not what life is,
Absolutely.
So that's really important to me.
Absolutely. And I when I'm driving around Chesapeake, I'm seeing, and I see this a lot in other cities, but preferably Chesapeake. I'm seeing a lot of luxury apartments being built. I'm seeing a lot of, again, apartments that not the average person can afford. So it's like, okay, what messaging are we trying to spread here? Are we trying to push people out and bring in wealthy people? I mean, like what's the deal here? And of course, taxes are not inexpensive here. Taxes are continue to push up or just staying steady, but yet we've lost curbside recycling. So again, I'm like, we lose privilege, but yet we're still, nothing's changed with our prices. And it goes to leadership. It goes to a council that is not on one accord. And look, I know a lot of people on council that doing great, mean well, but again, we go back to the majority who has them, having that majority vote. And it's unfortunate because that effect happens within the community and within, the residents have to take a big hit on that. So before we we're going to take a quick commercial break, but to end the affordable housing, what do you hope to to bring to that side? I know we've spoken a lot about as far as what we need to do, but what would your your plan? First elected in office, they say, okay, affordable housing. Councilman Naperala, what would you say?
My approach would be out in southern Chesapeake. That's where these McMansions have been popping up all over the place. And the people in southern Chesapeake are fed up, they're angry, and they're rightfully angry. I mean, the schools are overcrowded. There's one-lane roads with, these big neighborhoods that are popped up around them.
Yeah.
Farmland is getting crushed. So instead of trying to keep growing out, we've got all these blighted areas in the city. My belief is that we can improve Chesapeake exponentially by looking at those blighted areas as opportunities to revitalize. If we can bring some young folks into those areas with their families, then we can bring some more funding to the schools. We can get attention to all these areas that are and the infrastructure, all these areas that are being ignored because there aren't enough folks with influence living there right now. So, it's sad, but it's true. The council members listen to the people oftentimes with the most influence. So we need to provide opportunities for those folks to bring in, young families and just kind of revitalize areas that have been ignored for decades.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Miss Naperala, don't go anywhere, my friends. Look, I am joining with Jennifer Naperala, candidate for Chesapeake City Council. You are listening to the Arrington Gavin Show. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be back. Don't go anywhere.
You know, just like a winning team evolves throughout the season, so does your beard. I'm Arrington Gavin, proud CEO of Rugged Evolution Beard Care. With our premium oils, balms, and grooming tools, it's everything you need to level up your beard game. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a rookie, Rugged Evolution is the new smooth. Order now and dominate the beard game like never before. Rugged Evolution Beard Care, because every beard deserves to be legendary.
All right, my friends, welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm your host, Arrington Gavin. Joining me is Miss Jennifer Naperala, candidate for Chesapeake City Council. We are having just such a great, informative conversation. Again, speaking about her platform, we just spoken on the single member district system, which we've been fighting for quite a minute here in the city of Chesapeake. And it's still going to be a long going fight for that, because, again, so many residents in the area would love to see something like that. But hey, it all comes down to who's in power. But hey, maybe after this election, it might be some changes happening. Also, we've spoken about affordable housing. The pricing of homes are not getting any cheaper anytime soon, and the price just continues to go sky high. And so many people are either considering moving out of Chesapeake or even moving out of Hampton Roads and up north somewhere. So in order to grow a city, you can't just push people away. You have to do stuff that will attract people into the area, and especially like Miss Naperala had mentioned, families, people that want to grow their families. Chesapeake has always been that city where it's like, okay, it's very family oriented, great schools, great environments. Greenbrier is a great area. We've had, entertainment, you name it. We're still in the up and coming, but it's an area that has so much great potential, and it's like every time we're thinking we're ahead, it's like, okay, what are we doing here, people? What are we doing here? Miss Naperala, I want to ask, Miss Naperala, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. Thank you.
When it comes to safety in the city, you being an educator, I feel as though it has to be hard when you hear a lot of the crime that occurs, in our local cities, even out of, in different states. A lot of crime has been occurring in the school systems, whether it's children coming to school bringing weapons. We've had school shootings. It's very unfortunate because the suspects are getting younger and younger every time. The lives are being lost is getting younger and younger every time. What is your take? How would you take care of the issue as far as safety? A lot of parents are like, well, look, we want our children to be safe. We want them to go to school not feeling anxious or scared. And it's like you go there to learn, hang out with your friends, and the whole 9 yards. What's your take on just safety, or what will be your take on taking care of that?
I will answer this honestly. And I know that I might not be saying something that is going to be super popular with people, but as a teacher, I'm in the classroom every day with these kids. We are drilled to bits.
Mhm.
Everybody knows what to do. I mean, if something were to happen, I am confident that the kids know what to do. I know what to do.
Mhm.
And I know our school resource officer at our
Mhm.
school is wonderful. And our security is wonderful. I am not really in favor of making like metal detectors or arming teachers, anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't, I don't, I don't want to focus so much on the punitive side of it. I want to
Mhm.
focus on the prevention side of it
Mm.
because our focus on the punitive side, we've done a great job. And we've got a lot of leaders who are a lot of the candidates have police backgrounds.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they are very punitive focused.
Mhm.
Um, I to me, it will benefit our community much more if we invest time and energy into preventative measures and things like that. We don't have to have these giant mental health um, support teams. They would be
Mhm.
wonderful. They would
Mhm.
be amazing. But simple changes, just like smaller class sizes, so teachers can kind of keep an eye on their students.
Mm. Mm.
It's to make things to allow those relationships to happen, to allow kids to know that they're cared for at school. They can't
Mhm.
be packed in a classroom with 35 other kids. They just can't.
Mm.
And when teachers have kids cycling in and out of these huge classes, it really makes it hard for us to get an idea of when a kid is struggling or, who's having a bad day, just
Mhm.
because there are so many to keep track of. So simply reducing class sizes or putting a cap on
Mhm.
them would allow us to form relationships with students that could give us, a real opportunity to reach these kids before they get to the point of desperation where they commit these terrible crimes. So uh, I'm not opposed to punishment. Of course, they need to be punished,
Mhm.
um, but I'm not convinced that safety is going to be increased by metal detectors. I am convinced that safety will be increased when teachers are allowed to have strong bonds with their students.
Mm. Mm. That is I love that response because that's an answer I've not heard
Okay.
honestly in really in a ever when I speak with some educators because I mentioned before the show, like I was a private school kid, so we always had a smaller, we had smaller
Right.
graduating classes, smaller class sizes. It's what helped me when I was, going, I guess you could say, college shopping or school shopping when I was touring
Mhm.
different universities. I'm like, well, I would love to find a university that's a much smaller school because it's all about not being a number with for me, it wasn't, I wanted them to know me by name and not by number.
Yep.
And it adds on what you had said about, having that strong bond with the teachers, because it's just like, well, excuse me, with the students, because then you can really have that personal connection with, what's happening. Are you okay? Everything like that. So I love that answer. Want to move on to collective bargaining. You've spoken about that earlier, and I remember during the forum you've spoken about collective bargaining. So why is collective bargaining a key issue for your campaign?
Collective bargaining is a key issue for my campaign, and it should be important to everyone in Chesapeake because, well, first of all, the dropping in population, our loss of young people. We
Mm.
are struggling to recruit teachers, police officers, city service workers, partly because of the affordable housing issue, but
Mhm.
also, I think, partly because we don't have any agency in our careers.
Mhm.
We're beholden to whatever contract we're given.
Mhm.
Allowing city workers to have a representative at the table to bargain won't change our output. It won't
Mhm.
change who we are. It won't change the product that the city is getting. But what it will do is give us the security of a cost of living increase
Mhm.
from year to year, or safety measures for city workers. They will know about those way sooner than managers will.
Mhm.
So if I see it as a recruitment tool, first of all, for some of our industries like the police and teaching. Um, and it will also improve our quality of life, knowing that even if inflation is going up, I'm not going to be crushed as much because I have this cost of living increase in my contract that I was able to bargain for.
Got you. It's very interesting because when I'm hearing how like important these issues are, but it's like, why throughout the years this has never been spoken about or even been, again, I guess we go back to the representation piece. Because I mean, what's the mindset, for you when you're like, look, out of all these years we've never had this conversation, or at least for what have you heard from voters? Again, you've been on the campaign trail, going from place to place, speaking from all areas. What are you hearing from the voters?
I think people who are listening
Mm-hmm.
understand. I do think, though, collective bargaining, Virginia is such a business-friendly state that collective bargaining is kind of a bad word or a bad expression. So it's going to take time to get people to the point where, we have to recognize that workers need incentive to work. And it's getting to the point where workers are losing incentive to work. We're not seeing applications to these city jobs. So we have to recognize that if we want to be an attractive place, we're going to have to give up a little control. Businesses are going to have to give up a little bit of profit. And this isn't even a business, it's really the city.
Got you. I was gonna ask when you meant a business friendly state or city. Did you were you referring to like corporations coming down and hey, we're building this huge factory, or we're building this huge headquarters here in this area? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, partly. So with this South Korean firm, they're called Greenlink, I think. And when Mayor West announced it, he said, we have these other opportunities in the works and we've invited these other corporations to come here. Well, when the United States, began outsourcing our work to Mexico in the 1970s, we kind of inadvertently took control over those local areas' economies, and we drove those communities into further financial problems. So this isn't a today problem. This is just like borough representation, our grandchildren's future. So my thought is, if we don't do it now, the Mexican analogy of us being like a little Mexican town, that might be extreme, but I'm not convinced that we will actually, I'm certain we'll see a decline in our quality of life over the decades.
Wow.
So
I hear you, because and it's hard, I guess, because I think I'll say for maybe small business owners or even residents, right? I live very close by the like kind of like the new, like the Summit Point area,
right,
where we
okay.
have our it's like our up and coming downtown area. You have Dollar Tree headquarters, all that stuff. And I guess for either as a business owner as well as a resident, because I live nearby it, I'm like, okay, look, I look at value, I look at property value, and I think that to leaders, they're like, okay, the more companies that are brought into the area is like, big ups for people that are already established in Chesapeake, because they're like, oh great, we have this in here, we have that. But again, you what was the term you said, as far as looking forward or moving ahead, what is that, how is that gonna affect the area? Because like it broke my heart when I saw the Regal Cinema close down, which that has been there since, that was my childhood. I think it was started in '96, and when I found out that it was closing down, I'm like, wait, what? And so it's a vacant space that is just sitting there, and I don't know what will happen there, sooner or later. Likewise, we used to have a Sears that was connected to the Greenbrier Mall. That's gone, and it's like, okay, what is the strategy happening? Where are we going to? We're leaning towards building this up, but what are we going to do with this and that? And it's like, make it make sense to me. The math is not math. And I think voters and also residents, we just feel like we're not being heard, or like no one's telling us this stuff. We're unaware of like what's going on, what's happening.
Right. Well, I don't. It benefits.
I know that was a lot. That
No,
was
ultimately, and I don't mean to sound like I've got a tinfoil hat on my head. That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out how to say what I want to say without sounding, like I've got a tinfoil hat on. But it benefits everyone who has influence now because their wallets get fatter, their bank accounts get fatter. And they don't necessarily have to worry about generations from now because they're accruing wealth that they're going to be able to pass down. But for the folks in the middle and the folks at the bottom, we don't have that chance. And giving us the opportunity to collectively bargain is a step in the direction that will give us a chance to secure our futures.
Wow.
So that to me is the vital point.
Wow. That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, look, we have about 9 minutes left until almost 8 minutes left until we're going to end this conversation. I would like to ask and we're going to have a little fun. For one, how the family's response when you said, hey, look, I'm going to run. How has that support from your family, your kids, how has that support been throughout this whole process?
It has been great. My oldest daughter lives in Boston. I talk to her on the phone every day. I brain dump everything that's happening on the campaign into her, and she kind of recenters me. My son is a nurse. He lives around here, and he has been a huge help. He walks neighborhoods with me. He stands in the street while I'm knocking on the door, and he's gotten more. At first he was like, oh my God, Mom, please, this is so embarrassing. But now he'll see, he can kind of judge by my body language, I think, how the conversation's going. And I'll just turn and he has my literature handed to me. So he can kind of tell now, because he's done it with me so many times, that he's used to the process now, and he's been a huge support physically in that way. And he kind of pack mules all the stuff from point A to point B. And then my youngest daughter, she's at JMU at school, and she's kind of the social media visionary, and she is able to kind of talk me in the right direction for where, don't do that. That is really dumb. No one's going to like it. Or, ooh, that's a good idea, Mom, or try this. So they all kind of have found their own little niche that has helped me find my way through this process. It's been really, I've learned a lot. It has been almost fun for me to make. I just want people to understand. I just want people to recognize, we help our families. Well, if we look at Chesapeake as a family, we just have to accept the fact that things have to change a little bit.
Absolutely.
In the same way that we would change for our family. We all live in the same town. We can't let other people sink while we're floating. I just don't see that as healthy. I'm not saying I want us all to be equal. That will never happen. But we do need to look out for one another better.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. A good friend of mine had always said, change will happen every single day, and it's up to us. The more the more the more you grow, and in order for us to grow, we have to be up with the change, be willing to change. And I think that's always the issue. A lot of people is like, I don't like change, but we're not doing anything to hurt you or make. It's all about knowledge. We live in a new society where the style of clothing is going to be a new trend, or the food choice is going to be a new trend, or you name it, the slang, the new dance move, everything is always going to change every day. But I think it's so important, Jennifer, the fact that there is candidates like you that really, really, really are giving us just the fact that, hey, look, I'm passionate about the people. One thing you said is like, we look at Chesapeake as a family, and we don't hear that a lot with at least me. I'm speaking for myself. I can be a very not vicious, but very unfiltered here on this program, because I get tired of seeing things that I'm like, oh, I'm hoping this will be a good thing. Oh, and then I always get my heart broken. It's like, oh man, like
Yep.
it's like my wife loves to watch The Bachelor. I thought I had the rose coming and it didn't come, and it's like, okay.
Yep. Well, so to that point, that is why this all goes back to that kid. This all goes back to that kid. I will not let that stand. It just, and I know that sounds, I don't know. It just,
it's passion. It sounds like passion for me. I'm what I'm hearing is passion, and I'm hearing
yes.
is, look, we're on a mission here, and we're not going to stop until mission is accomplished. So
yes,
that's
exactly right. I'm not giving up.
I love it. I love it. Well, Jennifer, look, before you go, win or lose, what's next for you? What do you hope to do within the future?
Well, win or lose, we will have a borough system in Chesapeake. If I win, it will happen sooner. If I lose, we will wait 2 years. I will try again. And I'll just continue to work with the city groups that I'm working with and try all the avenues imaginable to bring about that change. I'll be doing I love teaching. I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's my 23rd year. So my kids are grown, and this is, to me, the passion that I raised my children with. I'm just now kind of turning to the broader family, I suppose, if you want to extend that metaphor.
Awesome. Well, look, before you go, want to put up your platform here for those who are watching and for those who are listening. Look, if you have enjoyed this conversation I've had with Ms. Jennifer Naperala, and you're like, look, I want to contribute to her case. I want to do something in support of, even though if I don't live in the city. Look, her website is jennifernap.com. That is www.jennifernap.com for those who happen to live in the Hampton Roads area. Or look, if you are in Chesapeake, look, I'm telling you, you have to do your part and vote. If you enjoyed what you've heard in this conversation and you are leaning towards Ms. Naperala, hey, look, this is her website right here. You can www.jennifernap.com. You can learn more about her platform. Again, early voting is still here. I believe it ends November 2nd. And then the Super Bowl day, the grand finale, is November 5th. So please, my friends, do your part. Vote. I always say it. Your vote is your voice. If you're trying to be heard, well, guess what? You got to vote. I get tired of people that say, look, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. I'm like, well, did you vote? Nah, I don't do all that. Well, please shut up. You're not helping the case. You have to vote. So please do yourself a favor. Get registered, share it with your friends and family. Ms. Naperala, don't go anywhere. We're going to chop it up just for a tad backstage after this program. But again, thank you so much for taking the time out your busy schedule, coming here on the platform. Don't be a stranger at all.
Thank you. And thanks for this opportunity, Arrington. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
Awesome. Well, look, you have a great one. Don't go anywhere again. And I will, we're going to chop it up a little bit after the program. Ladies and gents, again, Miss Jennifer Naperala, again, Chesapeake City Council, independent Chesapeake City. I'm getting my words mixed up. Independent candidate for Chesapeake City Council. Again, her website is www.jennifernap.com. I hope you all, my friends, enjoyed that great conversation I had with Miss Naperala. I did. I felt the passion. It's almost like a preacher. I felt him talking to me. I felt him talking to me in my heart. No, I really heard the passion. I heard on the key issues that I can see that will benefit the city of Chesapeake. And you know me, I don't like to sugarcoat things here on this program. This is not an endorsement. This is just somebody that is hearing facts. I'm like, you know what? Those are some fair facts that I can see actually happening within my hometown. And so please do yourself a favor. Like, as I mentioned before, read up on these candidates and just learn more when it comes to local voting and what's happening in your local election in your backyard, and not just on the presidential level. Look, we're all talking about it. You can hear about it on your national and mainstream news, but look, know what's happening in your backyard. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. Be sure to tune into new episodes of the Arrington Gavin Show, weeknights at 11 p.m. on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk, as well as WDJYFM.com. And you can also tune in on wherever you listen to your podcast, as well as YouTube and Rumble. Take care, my friends. God bless. See you next time. Peace.